Hello students, today we're going to be talking about converting fractions, decimals, and percents. So when looking at these notes here, the first portion of these notes say, Marcia says that she has a whole candy bar. Jose says that he has 100% of a candy bar. We need to explain who is correct. Well, we know that if you have a whole candy bar, you also have one. You've got one candy bar. Okay, and if you eat the whole thing, that means that you have 100% of it. So Marcia and Jose are actually both correct. They are both right in stating that they have a whole candy bar or 100% of a candy bar. So down here, I want you to write both are correct. Because one whole is 100%. They are the same thing. Okay, so if you have 100% of something, then you have the whole amount or one. You have one. So all the same value. So now when talking about converting fractions to decimals, a fraction and a decimal are less than a whole, right? So if you have 3/4 of something, that means you have less than one whole. So they're just portions. A fraction and a decimal are two different forms of a portion, but they can have the same value. And the way that you find the equivalent value is to convert a fraction to a decimal by dividing the top number by the bottom number, or the numerator by the denominator. And you guys know how to do that. If you have 3/4, your numerator and your numerator goes inside of your division box, and your denominator stays outside. So even though 3 is smaller than 4, 3 is your numerator, so it goes inside of your division box, and 4 stays outside. Now, because 4 can't go into 3, you got to be sure to add your decimal 0 and then divide like normal. So for example, looking at number 2, we have 1/25. Okay, now if I wanted to convert that to the equivalent decimal, I would need to take my numerator, my denominator, and divide those out. So that means that 1 is going to go inside of my division box, and 25 is going to stay outside. 25 can't go into 1, so I have to add a decimal 0. Bring that decimal up. 25 also can't go into 10. So I have to add a 0, stating that 25 is not going into 10, and then add another 0. Now 25 is going to go into 100 4 times, because 25 times 4 equals 100, and that would be my equivalent decimal. Okay. Looking at number 3 as another example, I have 1 4/5. 1 is my whole, so that means that it's going to be in front of my decimal. I'm not going to do anything else with it other than put it right in front of my decimal to show that that's one whole. And then I'm going to focus on my fraction here. I'm going to convert that to a decimal by dividing again. I'm going to take my numerator, which is 4, and put it inside of my division box and divide it by 5. Okay. 5 doesn't go into 4 evenly, so I need to add a decimal 0, show that 5 is not going into 4. Bring up my decimal. Now 5 times 8 would give me 40. So therefore, 4/5 is equivalent to 0.8. So that would be 1.8. And that is the equivalent decimal of 1 4/5. Now again, this is all review. You guys have done this before. I just want to touch base on that again. Down here, let's review converting decimals to percents. A decimal can be converted to a percent by multiplying. So in this first space here, I want you to write multiplying by 100, or moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right. Okay, so if you're given a decimal like 0.85 and you want to know what the equivalent percentage is, the numbers are going to stay the same. You're just going to move your decimal over 2 spaces to the right, and then add your percent sign, like that, okay? Numbers stay the same, but in order to make it bigger, you're going to go to the right to a percentage. Now, if you were given a percentage like 70% and you wanted to convert that to a decimal, you would end up moving your decimal over 2 places to the left. 1, 2 to get 0.7, like it's shown here. Okay, so if you want to make it a percentage into a decimal, you got to go to the left. But if you want to make a decimal into a percentage, you got to go to the right. Now on the back side of this notes page, I want us to just focus on question number 18 really quick, since it's a great test question. So it says, during a beanbag toss, Abby threw the beanbag 2.2 meters. Which of the following values are not equivalent to 2.2? Now this is super important because it's easy for us to overlook the not portion of this question, but we are looking out of these 4 values, which one is not equal to 2.2. So if I'm given this decimal 2.2 and I want to know what percentage it is, since 1 and 2 are both percents, I need to ask myself, okay, how am I going to convert this decimal to a percentage? Well, I know I need to move my decimal over 2 places to the right, and that means I need to put a 0 in this placeholder here. So this would become 220%. Therefore, 2 is equal to 2.2. This Roman numeral 2 here, 220% is equal to 2.2. So therefore, that cannot be an answer choice for me, because it is equal, and I'm looking for something that's not equal to 2.2. So therefore, I know that number 1 is going to be an answer choice, since 22% is not the same as 220%. Now I'm going to look at number 3. This is 2.5. Well, I'm given 2.2, and I know that half in decimal form is 0.5, so this would be 2.5. Therefore, these are also not equal. This is not equal to 2.2, so that's also an answer choice. And now I'm going to look at number 4. 9 over 4 is the same as 9 divided by 4. Those are equal to each other, so let's do that math. 9 divided by 4. 4 times 2 equals 8, which is very close to 9. You've got 1 left over. Now I know that 4 can't go into 1, so I have to add a decimal 0, bringing my decimal up, dropping my 0 down, making this 10. 4 times 2 equals 8, which is as close to 10 as I'm going to get. And then I've got 2 left over. 4 can't go into 2, so I'm going to add 1 more 0, drop it down. 4 times 5 equals 20, with nothing left over. So because I have 2.25, this would round up, making this 2.3, which means that this is also not an answer choice. So the best answer choice here would be B. Go ahead and put this notes page in your math binder and then move on to your next activity on your choice board.